Hello, hello. The time is now 1 p.m. and we are getting back into Weyrwood Redux. We have finished the assembly and it is now time to find out what the fallout from the ball will be. So, welcome in, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Glad you could join me. We are on chapter 3 of Weyrwood, a choose your own adventure story slash game by choice of games. This happens to be a Regency era styled story with a bit of a magical fantasy twist. And we are in our second run of Weirwood, where we did many, many different choices from our previous run last week. Um, Last week, we were a charismatic person who, at the first opportunity, jumped in with the daemons. This week, we are an impetuous creative who is running headlong into whatever situation we can find and somehow managing to make friends along the way. Apparently, being bold uh, does good things, is working in our favor. So, before we get into the story itself, we'll go over the stats just to refresh everyone's memory. Um, yes, Trav, we do indeed have a good chance of getting in with the Weirs this time. So we, most of these stats started out as a 50%er, but we have gotten slightly more charismatic and are slightly more intelligent these days. We're quite bold and lay it all delicate, are a little empathetic. We are still, interestingly enough, more principled than subterfuge, but the lying could begin at any moment. So, lies and truth, we're still fairly neutral on. We have a very healthy 100% health, which is nice, and we're a bit accomplished, getting there. Not as accomplished as one could be, but certainly more. And we are a tiny bit sporty as well, which is making us look good. As for our reputations, we are surprisingly, for a ex-gambler from the city with many debts to pay back, a bit respectable here in Prosper, and not nearly scandalous enough. We have a growing amount of influence, but for the rest, we are only very neutral. Neutrally dangerous, neutrally woodbound, neutrally weird sensed, and neutrally philanthropic. As for our relationships, this is where things get interesting. We're still very neutral with the wares, like absolutely neutral. But we have been intrigued by the daemons. Just a spicy amount of intrigue. Our childhood best friend Hippolyta is quite happy with us returning from the city. Colonel Ax, our guardian's old friend, um, is pleased with making our acquaintance, as is Lady Eugene, though we have not really spoken with her directly, but she doesn't seem to be opposed to us. We have yet to meet Mr. Wren Grufford. Hello, hello, person with emojis. Straw what? Oh, straw hat. Straw hat 150. Come on in. Welcome, welcome. And I'm enjoying the emoji pirate emoji. We got some One Piece in this house. That's awesome. Anyway, so we have yet to meet Mr. Wren Grufford. So we're very neutral with him. And his cousin, Miss Danae Grufford, is growing to like us, a little bit affectionate. As for Sandor Wakeforth, the current Wakeforth heir, who is Lady Eugene's nephew, niece, person. They are a person. They're no Straw Hat. I am not affiliate. So I'm a baby streamer. Please be kind. But do join us. We're about to get into chapter 3 adventure game. So feel free to hang out. And then Mrs. Yocasta Smythe, who in our previous run was our absolute enemy, has actually enjoys our friendship. Maybe friends. Maybe we will become friends. Who knows? She is still as caustic a gossip as ever, but she does not gossip against us yet, or currently, anyway. We have 9 Spina or Spina. I may refer to it either way because they don't really have a enunciation in the glossary, which is terrible. Um, oh, thanks, Straw Hat. I'll check it out after my stream. I'm just getting started here, so I always start at 1 p.m. Eastern time zone in the U.S. And I usually stream for a couple of hours at this point, maybe more in the future. But I'm a babby streamer, so please help. I'll check it out afterwards. So yeah, throw me a DM on Twitch, and I'll check it out. Anywho's what's it? That's what the stats are for the game that I've gone over. The rest we will find out in Chapter 3. So if you have no idea what Weyrwood by Choice of Games is, this is a choose your own adventure story. It is a Regency style fantasy with magic twist of a story. So take Jane Austen, throw in some demons and some fae and a town in the middle of it full of gentry, and you've got what we have right here. So, Chapter 3, Curiosities. A few days later, the malaise that has clung to you since that falling is still present, still oppressive. Shadows patterning the walls remind you of that dread snap of will and form parting. The swirl of leaves in the wind makes you shudder and shrink back, gripped by wordless terror. You keep feeling your wrist, the connection between you and your will. You still have 9 spina. This morning, you lie in a muddy haze trying to recall your dreams. The last one felt like something from your past, some memory just past recollection. So close, it tickles the back of your mind. When you try to summon it again, it is just out of reach of waking thought. And yet, when you trace it back again, you do recall something. What was it? You were held in a sling against someone's warm back, moving to the gentle gait of a horse. The countryside sprawled misty and fresh around you. The jingle of the saddle and harness was a lullaby. Somewhere behind you, someone was speaking to you in rough, familiar tones, but when you try to remember what the voice was saying, the words unwind and dissolve. But now, even that wisp fades and is swept away by the morning sunlight and the reality that you face. You can spend no more time in waiting for an answer from the lawyer's office. You must take fate in your own hands. For the brute fact is before you, you have 9 spina. You have no immediate means of obtaining more, and there is no foreseeable end to your stay in town. One way or the other, you must not let prosper be the end of you. Time to pay calls. As soon as you have breakfast and dressed, you set out for your solicitor's office. There must be something you can do to hurry the process of extracting your inheritance into usable currency, some connection to seek, or letters to write, or someone to press on in order to expedite the process. Something, anything. You cannot become like that poor wretch, the fallen gentleman. And perhaps you also do not wish to become like those who stood by and only watched, content to let another take the burden of the tithe. To be without will must be to be without soul, without life itself. So, we have come to our first choice. Will we die before we become one of the fallen, which in our previous round we selected? Will we find a solution even if we have to look at this rationally? Or can every problem be fixed quickly with the proper leverage? So chat, those of you who are here, please, 1, 2, or 3, which option should we take today? Winter Fairy says 3. Trav says 3, and that we are that lever. Ooh, spicy. Anybody else want to get a vote in before 3 becomes the vote? Well, it looks like, hello, Dragon. It looks like you've come and join us today. Welcome in, and you as well. So the 3s have it. Every problem can be fixed quickly with the proper leverage. You just need to find out what this one's is and use it. But it is not only falling you must fear. There is a special ring of social explosion granted to the social expulsion, if I can read, um, granted to those who meddle in magics, if they do not possess sufficient influence or respectability. If you lose a good deal of spina and offend your fellow gentry, you risk becoming marked, shunned by polite society. The daemons needed to do very little overall to restrict the gentry, you think. Humans have, for so long, proven themselves exceedingly skilled at oppressing one another. Indeed, it is a wonder that the whole of the country is not invaded by daemons or wares or other magical creatures long since, while the power struggles of a nation played out on a grand scale. The mood in Messrs. Hallwood, and Pend is more sombre today than when you visited for the assembly. News of the falling has made everyone anxious. Your solicitor, Antony Hallwood, is attentive to your concerns that the legal work is taking too long, but has no good news to relate. I'm sorry, he says. There isn't anything to be done. This matter is delicate and cannot be rushed. He pauses, and a small furrow forms between his brows, although his voice trails off. Gilbert Hallwood, his husband, and the other Hallwood on the firm's plaque, picks up the thread. You could speak with Mr. Roland Grufford. He used to do property transactions in the city before retiring to prosper. He grins brightly, his mood alone apparently unmarred. If anyone would know, it would be him. Mr. Antony Hallwood nods, but hesitantly, countenance glum. Although, as his countenance is customarily reserved, this may not signify anything much. You have some reservations about this course of action, sir? You ask, just in case it does. Doubtless Mr. Gilbert Hallwood means well, but Antony Hallwood is, after all, the adviser your guardian appointed for you. No, you are quite right, my dear, Antony says, though his brow furrows in a way that suggests he would rather the Grufford name not have been mentioned. Strange. But if Grufford can help you, you cannot afford to wait. You bid your farewells to the pair and head outside. Outside, the clouds are high and tinged with bluish gray. A storm threatens. Your resources are strained. Getting more spina, no easy feat, or getting out of Prosper, that is the necessity of this moment. That reluctance of Hallwood's notwithstanding, if Grufford knows something about property exchanges, it would be a very good thing to visit him, for he, surely, has the answers you're seeking. And as another relative newcomer to Prosper, he might also know where and how to acquire more spina on short notice. You approach the address with, and here comes another vote. Are we curious? Are we trepidatious? Are we bored? Are we excited or are we ambivalent? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, chat. What are our feelings about our opportunity with Mr. Grufford? Winter Fairy says 4. Excitement. Ooh, aren't we the excitable one? Trav says 5. It could work out in our favor, but he sounds so dreadfully dull. I can't agree more. I can't agree more, Trav. The 4s are pulling ahead. We are more excited than ambivalent at the moment. Anyone else want to weigh in? Always happy to hear from chat. 4s are still in the lead. I believe the 4s have it. We are excited today. You are bouncing with anticipation, for you are so close to finding out the answers to two burning questions that have haunted you since the assembly. Mr. Roland Grufford does also boast one further claim to interest. He is the father of the famed beauty Danae. A friendship with this family could mean a closer acquaintance with her as well. The Grufford residence is a tall, imposing stone house with a high roof and rows of imported cypresses. It is, one might remark, one of more in the style of a townhouse than a country villa, being tall, narrow, and angular, rather than satisfyingly sprawling. The grounds have surrounded it. The grounds that surround it are of a respectable size, though not overly large. Grufford's land stake appears to have been a modest one, and the sheen on the building itself and the wards surrounding the property are still bright. This is new gentry, not old. Good luck with that, Dragon. I don't get into the horror genre much, so good luck. I hope that you find what you're looking for. I will be avoiding it at all costs, personally speaking. Um, anyway, the family moved to Prosper after you left. They are newcomers to your home. However, judging by the house's respectable exterior, they did well to come here. The street is curiously empty. It does not seem as if any of the family are at home. You ring the bell. That reluctance of Hallwoods has disquieted you. Sure, just to ask. A servant opens the door and takes your card. She seems confused. I will see if Mr. Gruffer. The first few drops of rain splatter down upon the cobblestones and stops in the act of closing the door, looking doubtful. If you can wait inside, Miss Eyre, while I inquire? You nod, and she admits you inside. You follow the maid into a darkened vestibule. If you will wait here, she says, and departs up the stairs. You brush at the droplets of rain on your coat and look around. Curiously, the curtains in the front of the great windows are drawn, cloaking the space in gloom. Nevertheless, the wealth of the Gruffords' negotiations comes clear from the sheer amount of imported wood that lines the hall, molded and carved with designs of spiraling vines and diamonds. The grand staircase is, likewise, edged with carved decorations, and a few suitable portraits embellish the walls. The door to the drawing room is to the left, and a view through the door shows a comfortable, ordered room with striped wallpaper. The dining room is adjacent. Further down the hall, there are several other doors. All in all, it gives you the impression of a comfortable upper middle class household with aspirations. The only thing that renders the place remarkable in comparison to property of similar stature in the city is the copy of the family's charter, displayed in prominence on the mantel, so that the insignia of the county squire and the unique colophon of the land stake which enabled them to become part of the gentry are easily visible to any visitor. It is a trifle pompous, but clearly communicates its purpose. This is a family with ambition, and they have left us waiting. The clock in the corner chimes 12. There's no sign of the maid or any other in the house. No, you've now paced the length of the hall several times, and you know its every detail. It's odd protocol to be admitted into a house and left to cool your heels in the entryway for so long, even despite the rain. Your feeling of unease grows. Far too much time has passed. Could the certain servant have gotten lost? Perhaps this is all some kind of elaborate test. How do we react? Are we appalled by this treatment? Does it no harm? Do we decide that it's not harmful to wait? Maybe we could use the situation somehow? Or is waiting the right thing to do? Which I believe is our choice the last run. So, 1, 2, 3, or 4, how should our impetuous creative self decide we want to react to being stuck in an entry hall? Winter Fairy is very ambitiously choosing 3. Anyone else? Do we have a consensus yet, chat? Or shall I just go with Winter Fairy's ambitiousness? Well, Winter Fairy, it looks like you're steering it, so maybe I can use this situation somehow. Ah, sorry, Trav. I guess it was too quick. Perhaps switch to words. Automod is all I have. I have no mods but me, and I'm busy, so please. A peculiar household indeed. The air is taut, a tingling runs up your fingers and down your spine. Somewhere in the house, someone is dabbling in magic. Such activities are unusual in genteel houses in this day and age. Most often, such activities are better left to the professionals who perform their services for a fee, much like people of law or physicians. However, there is no mistaking that iron tang. It's cloying, and you cover your nose with your handkerchief, but the sensation persists, wriggling beneath your scalp, making your hair stand on end. Perhaps the servant has forgotten about you in whatever calamity is currently occurring. There is a crash from somewhere upstairs, and you know with sudden and devastating clarity that if the magic continues, it could spell destruction for the whole household. So, do we investigate the source of the magic? Do we investigate the source of the noise? Do we try to get help? Which is what we chose to do last time for all the good it did us. So, 1, 2, or 3. Let me know. Magic, noise, or help? Number 1, it smells intriguing. Oh, 1, we are being quite bold to investigate the source of the magic. Anyone else want to weigh in, or do the ones have it? All right, investigating the source of the magic. You follow the trail of magic until you are facing a thick door of imported oak. The air is even heavier here. Whatever working is being done on seems to be coming from within. You cover your nose and mouth with a handkerchief, steel yourself, and enter the library. Your first impression of the room is one of total chaos. Billowing clouds of smoke twist and crackle, the acrid tang of magic making your eyes and throat burn. In the center of the room is a table covered in antique arcane instruments and candle stubs and pieces of dried flowers. Books are carelessly discarded on every available surface. A sharp sensation in your chest makes you panic for a second. It's similar to the feeling of the spina unhooking, but when you check, yours are still there in your pocket, emitting a silvery light. That has never happened before. The plumes of smoke and the jangling in your senses are so overwhelming that for a moment you believe you are the only person in the room. The room is uninhabited as if awaiting you, the chaos mounting with every breath you take, the responsibility resting on your shoulders. Too much, far too much for someone without the least particle of training in sorcery. You steel yourself and move forward. You are not afraid. But then, a second later, you see him, standing half concealed behind the table and the pile of instruments there. So strained are your senses that you notice him in bursts, as if your awareness cannot bear to recognize anything whole when this consummate chaos is here, unraveling before you. You blink and look again. He is still there, and not a daemon as you had first feared, but a human, one with a sardonic twist of a mouth, long ink-stained fingers, pale skin reflecting the eerie light, and a mop of silvery hair escaping its queue in unruly hanks. His brows are furrowed in concentration, and his eyes, like darkness itself, are wholly focused on the working in front of him. He is muttering words that cause the magic to spike and the scent of burned verbena to grow stronger all around you, and scribbling in a small leather-bound book. His dark coat is shabby, the buttons dulled, and as he writes, a long rip in his left sleeve becomes apparent, exposing the white shirt sleeve beneath. Not just a would-be sorcerer, but a gentleman as well. It would appear, and one who does not take much care about his appearance. He is a little older than yourself, most certainly old enough to know better than to delve in such things. This is the person responsible for all of this. You wrench your eyes to the apparatus on which the gentleman is so wholly focused, and your horror fills. For in its melting dish, suspended above a flame, is a spina, presumably his own. There is a magnifying glass and a candle arranged just so. It looks like this madman is attempting to separate one of his spina willfully from his soul. You half expect the wall to be covered in arcane formula and a hole to be yawning in the floor beneath the table. But so far, the rest of the room is as it should be, a library, neatly lined with books and maps. Not for much longer, however. If you don't do anything, the rising tension tells you that the entire room will be ablaze within a few minutes. Clearly, this person is hell-bent on destroying himself, regardless of whoever else happens to be present. How will you end the working so that nothing catastrophic occurs? Will we grab the spina out of the melting dish directly, distract the gentleman, appeal to his honor, which I believe we chose last time, or feel into the process? Um, so I believe that each of these options is related to one of the stats. The first one might be sport, but I'm not entirely certain. Distracting the gentleman is likely charisma. Appealing to his honor could either be intelligence or it could be uh, boldness. Actually, grabbing the speed be boldness, and then feeling into the process is definitely empathy. So um, we do have some amount in most of those, but the right one would be the one we have the most skill in, or I shouldn't say correct one. The one with the best chance of success is the one that we have the most skill in. But really, there is no wrong answer here. So Winter Fairy says 4, as does Trav. It could be interesting to figure out the feel of things, and we do have a bit of empathy to do that with. So far, the 4s have it. So if anyone else wants to drop their vote in, feel free to do so now. Indeed, Trav, empathy and magic sense. Feeling into the process could be quite interesting indeed. Looks like the 4s have it, so we feel into the process. You, like most other members of the gentry, were never trained in sorcery, and while the sensations of it are overpowering, you cannot quite grasp the edges of it and direct it in any way. But in your attempt, it is as if you're open to something. The magic rushes towards you, and you can smell the tips of your hair burning. You stagger back. It feels as though you were struck with a corporeal blow. The working continues on. The silver-haired madman continues muttering until the magic reaches a crackling intensity, and the spina melts away. The pressure clears so suddenly that you are left reeling. An eerie, smooth breeze wafts through the place, and the spina dissolves, leaving a small burned patch where it rested, and the shiver of spina departing is so strong that even you feel it, though it is, this time, not your own. The gentleman flinches, eyes watering, and then it is all over. The tinkle of active magic is gone, leaving a high-pitched ringing in your ears. You and the gentleman are left staring at each other. He explodes first. What on earth are you doing? The billowing smoke is now a heavy haze that stings the eyes and lungs. Coughing, he shoves open the window and waves it outside. Any person standing in the courtyard would get a face full of the noxious stuff, but your lungs appreciate the cleaner air that filters in. Although, if there were anyone below, it is a wonder they did not intervene earlier. Can this be a normal occurrence in the Grufford household? A chilling thought. In any case, it is curious indeed that the Daemons did not take this one, clearly so intent upon his own destruction. At the very hint of such gone, I was in the middle of a very important thought experiment on the nature of will. It was to be the cornerstone of the discussion at the next meet. And now look! He waves a sheaf of papers wildly at the mess between you. He fixes you with a scrutinizing gaze. Why did you do that? How do you respond? Do we apologize? Do we sympathize? Uh, do we explain to him that meddling is wrong in principle? Um, do we say what's exactly on our mind, which I think is what we did last time, or do we express our intellectual curiosity? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Uh, what do we do? Winter Fairy says 5. She's curious. Curious, curious, curious. I mean, we are fairly bold. Oh, you're right, Trav. We did sympathize. Actions have consequences. That was our. I mean, I'm not sure that 2 and 4 aren't kind of the same, but I guess they're not. They are 2 different options. So far, 5 is the vote. Anyone else wish to agree or choose or vote otherwise? Dragon says 4. Say what's on our mind. Trav says 5. All right, all right. It looks like the 5s. Uh, ah, my apologies, Trav. I did not quite understand that you had also voted for. All right, we will say what's on our mind. We will just be bold and in his face. Well, excuse me for saving your hide. Does nobody else in this house have any common sense? His mouth quirks as though he is holding back a laugh. This makes you even more cross. What did you hope to achieve anyway? You demand. He runs a hand through his hair and grins ruefully. He is no longer upset, it seems. Smiling, his face transforms. It is not quite disagreeable. Amotus proved that the spina is connected to the will. Everyone knows this. When one performs feats of expanded will, spina appears. But how it appears is much more mysterious than how it disappears. But the rules that govern our discourse and our status are much later than the first records of spina. In truth, we have much to learn about why and how it works. Our first philosophers placed a great importance on the will as animating the body. The study of the will and of the strands that bind it to the human soul have barely been discussed in scientific literature. I had hoped to further the discourse. He speaks mightily well for someone with smudges of dirt on his face, who, just a few moments ago, came so close to departing into the abyss. But surely such a test is reckless to the extreme. What if you would fall in the process? His lips twitch into a fleeting smile. And without even being acquainted, you should care so much about my welfare, Messer. I am Messer Ash Montague. I was hoping to speak with Mr. Roland Grufford, Danae's father. My uncle is out, and you decided to barge in and disrupt my work. Oh, I understand well enough. He sweeps an elegant bow, unimpeded by his torn cuffs and the streaks of dust on his frock coat. Wren Grufford at your service. Danae's cousin, the philosopher, of course. What do you think of him? What is our impression of him now? Is he altogether infuriating? Is he unhinged? Is he perfectly normal? Or is he exceedingly attractive? Uh, Trav votes 3 that he is perfectly normal. Perfectly normal to be so boldly curious. I mean, we are bold and impetuous ourselves. Dragon says 1, but 4. Winter Fairy also says 3, so currently the 3s have it. Dragon wants to be attracted to him. We haven't really settled on who we want to be attracted to this run. Last time it was Miss Danae Grufford, but perhaps we should switch it up to the cousin, eh? So the 3s currently have it. That is entirely true, Trav. If you do up a sign that says "Do not open this door," someone is walking in already before it's dry. All right, he is perfectly normal, as has it. Well, we'll see. There will be opportunities to further our acquaintance later, Dragon. As I said, we haven't quite settled on who we're pursuing this run. However, even this distraction cannot pull your attention too long once you realize one thing. So we do not have enough skill to say that there appears to be flaws in his logic, and we do not have enough skill to say that he's not telling the whole truth. So neither of the option 1 or 2 is possible. We can, however, decide that he's a good acquaintance to cultivate, that he is out of his head, that we are interested in pursuing this intellectual puzzle, or that we think he's misguided, but we understand why he is doing this. Dragon, we do not have 2, so it's 3, 4, 5, or 6. 2 is I can't even click on it. I can highlight it, but I can't even take it. So 3, 4, 5, or 6. What should she pick? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Please tell me. Tell me what you want. Well, technically there are 6 choices, but I only have access to 3, 4, 5, or 6. So far, the 3s have it. I believe Dragon was attempting to go with 4, but the 3s have outvoted him. Does anyone else want to join in on the vote? The 3s, he might be a good acquaintance to cultivate. Despite the bizarre and not entirely cordial circumstances of your meeting, there is something about this gentleman, and his connections are not altogether poor. You flash a smile and make a mental note to call upon the Gruffords again soon. What was it you really wanted here? He demands. Such bluntness is unheard of. Do we consider his bluntness but charming? That it has its allure, that is unworthy of a gentleman, or that you couldn't care less about his manners, it's his judgment that is in doubt, which I believe is what we picked last time. We were very judgmental of Mr. Run Grufford last time around. Dragon says 4. He wants to be charmed by Mr. Wren Grufford, the bold philosopher. Bit of a troublemaker, this one. Ooh, Trav also wants to be a little flirty, saying that the bluntness is alluring. The 2 currently have it. I'm going to agree. The 2s have it. His bluntness is alluring to us. I was hoping to speak with Mr. Roland Grufford, you explain again. He makes a strange face. Curious. An awkward pause. He appears to be waiting for you to tell him the whole of your business. When you do not continue, he shrugs. He is not in, as I said. He is in the city on some business. His tone is brusque, and the shadow of disdain creeps into it. Evidently, he does not hold his uncle in high esteem, despite the fact that he is ward to Roland Grufford. The clock ticks. Oh, you say. This is such a strange situation that the rules that govern social calls are not entirely clear now. Wren looks at you a moment longer as if considering something and nods decisively. Our philosophy society meets on Wednesdays. You would be welcome to join if you wish. A philosophy society, you repeat. Wren nods. A group of us decided years ago that we wish to better understand the way the world works. It is a peculiar position, is it not, in which we find ourselves as gentry in a town calculated to bring us to tithe? Everyone tries to gloss over the oddness of it all, to pretend that the rules in society are all that matter, that persists except this game we play. But that cannot be so. That cannot be so. There must be other possibilities therein. This is what we help to achieve, or I think the word there was supposed to be hope. He takes a breath and appears to calm himself. But I am getting ahead of myself. Will you join? Yes, Dragon, I am well aware that you like crazy. We've had that discussion. So, are we delighted to join his little club? Are we just not interested? Um, we would like to learn because we think we can learn more that might help our cause, or no, you don't think philosophy and magic should be meddled with? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yes, no, yes, no. So the yes of delight, the no of absolutely not, the yes of I could learn something, or the no of yeah, it's not a good idea. Let me know what you think. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Winter Fairy says 3. We are more interested than in learning than interested in Ren. Trap says 1. Oh, sassy. We're now a bit of flirt. Bit of flirting. We could have flirted harder, but we're flirting a little bit now. 3 or 1, and Dragon has already said 1, so I believe yes, we would be delighted. Has the vote. I would be delighted, you say with earnest enthusiasm. It would be a fine thing indeed to spend an afternoon contemplating such puzzles, and in such excellent company. Wren flashes you a dazzling lopsided grin, made all the more brilliant by his reserve. Excellent. We need more people who really think there, if we are to get at it. We need more people who really think there if we are to get to anything new. I mangled that line and I apologize. The language is a little wonky, old fashioned, and wonky. I look forward to it. There's an odd little silence. He suddenly seems very interested in the charred marks on his hand. Well, I should return to my work. You recollect the time, and I must see if Mr. Grufford has returned. Thank you. He nods absently. I doubt it. Please don't blow anything up. His eyes glitter strangely. And why should you care, Monsieur? So, do we wish to see no one harmed? Do we remind him that his house is expensive? Do we flirt a little bit by saying we would be sorry to lose such an interesting acquaintance so soon after meeting? Or do we tell him outright, you should not do these things? I'm pretty sure that 1 and 3 are going to be popular. Well, Dragon, Weyrwood is written in a Regency styled novel, so British is yes. I don't believe that the authors are necessarily British, but they attempted a sort of Jane Austen-esque thing. 3, it's not just flirting. Oh, Trav. Well, the 3s I think will have it unless Winter Fairy disagrees. Pretty sure she won't, though. Yeah, I'm calling it. The 3s have it. He looks pleased and nods his head. Likewise, but life is full of perils. We must each tear when opening doors to the unknown. Rest assured that I shall do so. That is not quite a promise not to experiment, but it is likely as much as you will get. Farewell, then. The pleasure was all mine, he says with unexpected warmth. Again, that brilliant smile. The sound of the front door slamming brings you back to the present. Someone has just arrived. If you hurry, you might catch Roland Grufford. You bid a final farewell to Wren, who bows, one eyebrow raised. You can't tell if it's meant seriously or not, and hurry back down the stairs. The rustle of fabric and a lady's voice halts your steps. It is Miss Danae Grufford. Why, Miss Eyre Montague, you aren't leaving, I hope? Her voice is warm. Ah, Danae. You've already spent enough time here as it is. To linger now constrains the limits of courtesy, but Danae seems keen to talk. I must deal with some matters of business, you say. But there is a genuine regret in your reply. She gives you a shrewd look, and suddenly you feel she knows everything about your finances and issues of your inheritance. Perhaps they are common knowledge. Oh, I see. You've come to see my father. He is out. There was a thing, I suppose. Everyone is on edge since. She doesn't need to say what. You feel it too. You nod. She looks around, and there is no one in the stairwell, and moves closer. It wasn't always this way, she says in a bare whisper. It used to be less frequent. Neither of you want to say the word falling aloud, as if to name it would summon back the specter of that terrible occurrence. They are gathering more and more thralls. So it has seemed to you as well. You don't respond, but she sees something in your eyes that seem to confirm this. Everyone says so. Everyone is on edge, she continues. I overheard father telling the town council that it must have something to do with the wood. Ooh, conspiracy. Your throat closes momentarily. It is dangerous for her to speak thus of Weyrwood, even though she does so in apparent fear. But it is too late. The words are already out. She continues rapidly. Whatever is happening, the Weyrs are probably behind it. They of the forest. Beneath your shutter, you get the feeling that she spends a good deal of time accidentally overhearing things she should not have. How do we respond? Do we thank Danae for the information? Do we scold her for gossiping? Or do we commiserate with Danae, which is what we did last time, actually, and worked out quite well for us up until we didn't save her? Winter Fairy says commiserate. Dragon says scold. Trav says thank her. Oh, goodness. You're leaving it to me, everyone. How terrible of you. I relied upon you to make a decision for me, and now I must make it myself. Oh, poor me, poor me. Whatever will I do? um, well, here's a thought. I will go over a thought. We're going to go down to relationships here and see how we stack up right now. Again, wares. We have not had anything to do with them. The Daemons, ooh, intriguing. Hippolyta, we love our bestie. Uh, Colonel Ajax and Lady Eugene does not matter in this place. Ren enjoys us. He's become the apple of our eye. We are in flirt mode now. Danae likes us, which is why we've got this information to begin with. And we could make her like us more by commiserating with her. And thanking her, I think, will help us as well. Scolding her will make her not happy with us. Alcindor Wakeforth is not really in this, but we have our eye on them as well. Costa as well. Her caustic self, which she likes us right now, which is great. So, our like the conversation that we should have is who are we gunning for this run? We gunned for Danae last run. We made her. We were quite happy with her, but then we also betrayed her horrifically in the end. Who do we want this one? Oh, Ren's bold. We are bold. We will get along with Ren. Yocasta is Smythe is unfortunately married, Trav. Though I don't know if we can't do something about that. But Dragon wants Ren. All right, all right. I see where you're at, Mister Mister. Um, what is chat's thoughts on this? Well, we still have the possibility to grab someone. We have basically every possibility, including spoilers, Hippolyta. So, um, Bessie, the dangerous would-be magician, the sweet debutante, the very rich and creative Wakeforth. Who shall we go? It looks like I've got 2 votes for Ren so far. Winter Fairy, you want to weigh in real quick while you still can? Or anyone else, chat in general. But it looks like Ren, I guess we're going Ren. Yes, I guess so. So we're going to thank Danae for the information because we know where the commiserating route leads. I did not know, you say. I thank you. A great many things have indeed changed since I went away. This information suddenly sheds a new light on Ren's experiment. You look for Danae's response to the chaos that was just performed here, but Danae seems wholly ignorant of what occurred just a few minutes ago in her home. You pause, considering, do you tell Danae about the encounter with Ren and the magic? And how much should you tell her about your part in it? If you trust her to keep the information secret, she may prove an ally. However, if you expose Ren, you may lose some of his trust in you, however slight that may be upon such a short acquaintance. So, do we tell Danae everything about the magic, including our part in it, which is, I believe, what we did last time? Do we tell Danae a little about it, excluding ourselves? Do we tell Danae only that we met her cousin? Or do we blame the servants for their poor treatment of us? Winter Fairy says 3, and I'm leaning towards that way, but chat, you got to tell me. 3, he can tell her the details. Yeah, he knows a lot more than we do after all. Well, he's been experimenting for at least a little while. How long, we couldn't possibly say, but he's a naughty one. The threes currently have it. Is there anyone who wishes to say otherwise? All right. We tell Danae only that we met her cousin. I met your cousin, you say. He seems an interesting person. That, at least, you can say, for it could mean anything. Danae frowns. Perhaps she senses that you are withholding some information. Yes, that he is. You are ready to depart, but Danae seems to be lingering. It suddenly feels abrupt to leave without inquiring after her own health in person. Are you well? You ask at the same time that she says, would you care to see our grounds? They are not very large, but we have a fine prospect of the town. Do you stay and visit with Danae? So, we could stay and we could accept her offer very warmly, which is the flirt route. We could accept her offer for politeness sake, which is the friendship route, or we could decline entirely and just be rude. I mean, it isn't that we haven't been here for a while, it's just that perhaps we have overstayed. Winter Fairy wants to go for the friendship route, which I'm down for. Anybody else? The more friends, the better in this game, truly. We actually did pick one last time, Trav. So I understand where you're going with that. Warmly does not necessarily mean the flirt route. It's just that it is basically the flirt route with a little bit of friendliness thrown in, whereas politeness sake is very much friend zoned. Just FYI. So we have a vote for two and a vote for one. Dragon, do you want to weigh in or are you still busy? It's left up to me, so I will go with two because that's the way I feel like going. Thank you. I should like that, you say neutrally. It is a polite response, nothing more, but it evidently pleases her a little. Just a moment, then. She disappears into a side room for a moment. When she emerges, she is wearing sensible boots and a shawl that looks a little more worn than her fashionable cape. There are sometimes tricky rocks, she says by way of explanation. She ties the shawl around her so that it will not get in the way. Such a practical look suddenly makes her look much shrewder and less put together than she did previously. You follow Danae out the back door and through a stacked garden of sorts. It is all in a very current sort of taste, and if Mr. Roland Grufford were here, doubtless, you would be expected to make any number of admiring comments on the arrangement and shapes of the shrubbery, the harmoniousness of the plants, and the overall stylishness of his taste. Oh, hey, welcome in, Inuzaku. Welcome in, welcome in. Glad you could join us. Doesn't matter that you're a bit late. Feel free to join whenever you can or want to. I'm just happy to have you. So welcome in. This chapter 3 has been all about meeting the Gruffords and making choices towards some of the potential love interests of the game. So you have missed some of the magic of the game, but worry not, they do talk about it later. So Feel free to settle in. Danae proceeds through it all at a pace that can only be described as tromping, so you are spared making any comments at all. Past the gardens, there is a stretch of wilder land, an incline that turns abruptly into a rocky slope. Miss Grufford's current popularity in society has afforded her any advantages besides becoming a focus of admiration and envy among the gentry. Principal among these is surely the amount of exercise she has gained in being such a desired dance partner. Indeed, she quite outpaces you. Luckily, you are not so out of condition as all that, and after a few moments of labored breathing, you adjust to the pace. Once the air is no longer that of the formal constricting gardens, she appears to breathe more easily. Her features become more relaxed. She even smiles without apparent fear of being misapprehended. She slows once you reach the top of the outcropping. True to her word, there is a fine view of Prosper below. What do you think? The sunlight is dazzling, and you can see the winding river that runs through town, sliding like a silver ribbon down into the green shade of the wood. So, what do we think of the view? Do we think that it is beautiful, perhaps alluding that she is as well? Do we say that we have seen better, scoffing at the view, or do we tell her that she has excellent taste, which is both polite and friendly? Let me know, chat. What one, two, or three? Beautiful, better, or taste? Uh, Inu says three. Awesome. Three has the votes currently. Three has the votes, so she has excellent taste. I think you have excellent taste, you tell Danae. Even I did not know of this place. Her face creases in surprised pleasure. Now you know, she says simply. Danae plunks herself down on a rock, still refined, but somehow rawer, less a creation of filigree and candlelight and more human. It is my favorite spot to sit and think. You sit beside her for a time, and neither of you say anything at all. Somehow the silence brings you closer than any words could. And then we must return to the house. When the wind clears the clouds from the sky, slowly you both recollect the time. Again, you follow her across the rocks and down into the gardens that enfold the house. Now, somehow, the pressure that lined your neck has been eased a little. You bid Danae farewell and depart. While you are walking towards home, you muse upon the Gruffords. A strange call, all in all, but not devoid of information. Indeed, the situation in Prosper seems rather more complicated than you had imagined, though perhaps no more than is warranted with such a diversity of interests all coming to a head in one small parcel of countryside. You cannot stop certain moments from turning over in your mind. Do we think about Mr. Wren Grufford, who I believe chat has already voted into being our romantic pursuit? Do we think about the magic? Do we think about the danger that is pervasive in Prosper? Or do we think about Danae, which is what we did last time? Um, as we were not pursuing Danae in this run particularly, perhaps number four is not one way to go. But one, two, three, or four, Ren, magic, danger, or Danae. Tell me what you think, everyone. Pretty, please. We have votes for one and two. Trav says exciting things, setting the world on fire while poking it with a stick. Thinking about the magic could be interesting. So we have essentially an equal amount of votes for one and two, which, considering only three people voted, is a little silly, but it is how we are going. So does anyone else want to weigh in chat before I make the call? Ren, magic, danger, or Danae? One, two, three, or four. Please, please, tell me. I guess it is left to me to decide. You know what? Ren we can flirt with later. I would like to not be able to stop thinking about the magic. The magic. The shock and the sheer power of it haunts you. Each member of the Grufford household that you have met so far seems remarkable, though in their different ways. The way back home takes you past the wall, the boundary to Prosper, and from the hill you can glimpse the shadowy trees of the wood. Danae's words come back to you, loud and clear. If there is something sinister about the forest, or the wares that inhabit it, it seems likely today when the tangled branches create a bleak barrier against the sky. Something moves in the corner of your vision. It is an elderly lady, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. She is moving to the gate. No one goes into the wood. It is simply not done. But then, twists of old stories, whispered on chilly evenings, dredge themselves up in your memory. There have been people, members of the gentry, who went into the wood, who bargained with the wares, and who returned with more spina, and with the weight of a bargain that can almost never be repaid. You half believe that the old lady will turn and continue walking the limits of the town, but she proceeds forward until she reaches the old gate. It is near rusted shut from disuse, but swings silently open at her gesture. She goes through it and is soon past your sight. What do you think about this? Are we curious about the wood? Afraid of the wood? Are we drawn to the wood? Or is the wood something evil that should be tamed? Trav absolutely wants to be drawn to the wood. Wow, everyone wants to be drawn to the wood. The wood is calling for us. It looks like the wood has drawn us in. We are going to be probably in debt again. Into the wood, into the wood we go. A reminder of fairy tales or a particular play, thusly named. You've drifted towards the gate, you realize. You gather your wits and turn again towards home. But before you can take more than a few steps, a black liquid shape about the size of a hunting hound slips out in front of you. A wildcat. It's a cat, one of the wildcats that infest the area around Prosper. Unusual to see one so close to town, but in the dusky light, the chill of the wood has seeped into your bones, and anything is possible. Some cats are benign, but others infected with a poison that causes sickness and, in extreme cases, death. The cat watches you. Its eyes are like parallel moons reflecting the light. You cannot tell which kind it is, benign or venomous, but its teeth, when it hisses at you, are large enough for worry. You back up. The cat advances towards you, forcing you through the gate. Now, there is only one way to flee, and that is into the wood. You back up slowly through that yawning gap between the trees. Yes, kitty! um, well, Inuzaku, the Brothers Grimm, yes and no. It's more Brothers Grimm meets Celtic fairy tale, to be frank. But into the wood we go. The air is cooler beneath the trees. The cat is still behind you, stalking you like prey you are. You look back over your shoulder to mark the wisteria-covered gate, which separates the known and human world from the other, from a place that does not belong to you at all. You must remember it so that you can return. It is clear now that the stories were true in some respect. Despite the taboo, others have entered the wood before you. There is a gate, after all. There is a path, though but lightly trod. The trees grow denser and the air fresher still, dark and mulch-like. There is quiet as before the rain. The crack of a twig breaking disrupts the peace. The cat is still moving towards you, eyes intent. But it is but a few feet away, and if you run, unless you are very fast, it will pounce. How do you find your way out of this one? Do we observe the cat for hints, which did not go well for last time, and this, considering our intellect stat currently, likely will not go well for us this time either? Do we run back the way we came, hoping to slip past it? Do we back away slowly, hoping to keep it calm enough not to pounce? Or do we menace the cat to make it back down boldly? Ooh. 4 has a vote, 3 has a vote. What is the chat consensus? Let us check our stats per Trav's request. So, charisma is at 63%. We are not particularly charismatic, but we're not charismatic. Our intelligence, which would be the observation route, is definitely not high enough at practically neutral. Our boldness, however, 75%. We are bold. Our empathy is almost 60%, so we're getting there. Principle or subterfuge does not matter in this particular. Our health is already down from our brush magic prior, and our sport is not, I mean, it's not neutral, but it's certainly a bit healthier than otherwise would be. So from the options, we have the intelligence, possibly the boldness, possibly the sport, and I believe if we had more weed sense, we might be able to do something as well. So yeah, intelligence, sport, backing away slowly, I think is just a safer option, all things considered. And this, I think, might be our boldness. So that's my understanding. In Uzaku, it's less that we are lacking boots and more that the gentry clothing that we wear will not keep a wild cat's claws from raking across our skin regardless. This is not a house cat. This is a cat that is the size of a medium-sized dog. The wild cat is very much not a house pet type cat. So it is a menace, absolutely. And we do not know if this menace will just hiss at us as we pass or whether it will take a swipe with possibly poisoned and/or toxic claws or try to bite us and be in a venomous manner, because all of that is possible. So we have a vote for 4, trying to make the cat back down by being menacing. I mean, I agree, Trav. All need petting, but is it wise to pet this one? Maybe not. So far, the vote is for 4. Anybody else have an option? 3. So 3 or 4. What is the chat consensus? 3 or 4? The blur effect on the words, this is the game. I have no control over it. I do my best to keep it clear. 3 or 4? Tell me now, before it's too late. And I make the decision. Ooh, 2 votes for 4. The 4s have it. So we are bold, and we have been menaced by this cat, and it is enough. We will menace it back. Back, back, you beast. You make yourself as big as possible, stretching your arms out and waving your cloak around while shouting bowels the top of your lungs. The cat winces visibly and draws back, an expression of shock discernible on its face. You continue shouting until it has retreated into the forest. You find the trail and position yourself going east. Soon, you should be out of the woods. A supple shade of silence, denser than you've experienced so far, falls upon you. Your back prickles with the awareness that someone is watching you. You are no longer alone. A shape unfolds itself from the trees, so swiftly you suspect it was there all along. A tall silhouette, ruffled as if with leaves or fur, slowly solidifies before your eyes into a human-like form. 2 legs, 2 arms, a body crossed with a bandolier holding small pointed objects. Eyes that glow like the orange moon in autumn, round and untrusting, and an energy field that is simply wrong. It hurts the mind to look upon at first. Somehow the presence seems female. It is a weir. Those mythical creatures who have care of the wood, and who cross its breadth and depth, from whom the settlement of Prosper was originally carved out, to whom, should it fall, all will return. The buzzing feeling subsides bit by bit, and you can make out the weir's features. This one has slim antlers and a snub nose. She raises a small bow armed with a silvery dart at you. You are far from the town, human. Her voice is like the creak of wood in the autumn gales. The words sound in another language, but somehow, in your inner ear, you understand the words. And you are trespassing on our lands. Tell me, why should we allow you to go free? This could be, if you wish, a chance to bargain for more Spina. You've heard stories that Spina was originally a gift of the Wares. However, the tales you've heard attest that you can never gain it from them without significant cost. Lives have been wrecked in the stories, but perhaps they are exaggerated accounts. Do you want to stay and bargain for Spina with the Weir? So, yes, we want to bargain, absolutely. Do we apologize and then bargain? Do we apologize and then attempt to leave? Do we just run away? Bravely run away, run away. I mean, run away. Do we run away? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yes, apologies and yes, apologies and no, or flee. So Trav thinks that bargaining sounds good, but we don't want to be rude. So we looks like the twos have it. We shall apologize and then bargain. Yea, more debt indeed. Inu, yea, more debt indeed. You dip your head politely and introduce yourself. My apologies for trespassing. My name is Ash Montague. I became lost in your woods. I ask you pardon. She nods infinitesimally and lowers her bow a little, but does not look wholly convinced. Yes, well, her voice is rough. If you wish to bargain for Spina, no, it will cost you dearly. She cocks her head and looks up at you, unblinking. Name your terms. You scarcely recognize your own voice. She walks around you, coming close enough that you smell the verbena and woodbine of her coat. All your memories before the age of 10. Is that price too high? Do we just gladly rid ourselves of all those memories? Or is there something else we might trade? Ooh, Inu is bold and says, yes, just take them. Chat, what do we do? This is a bargaining, but do we haggle? Do we haggle? No, yes, or haggle. That is the option before us. 1, 2, or 3. All right, Winter Fairy, give our love to your son when you fetch him back from the bus. We will see you return shortly, I am sure. The twos currently have it. There is a little bit of space for someone else to say something, but the twos currently have it, as we will just forget our parents entirely and everything when we were up until the age of 10. Oh, how bold we are. Who needs parents indeed, Inu? Who needs parents indeed? I mean, they're already dead. They died when we were very young. We'll lose some of our memories of our guardian, but there's enough of those memories left that there's at least a couple of years of memories left of our guardian, so it's not like we'll forget about him entirely. Hippolyta will find us a little bit strange, but we left Prosper at 12, so we have 2 years of our guardian and Hippolyta still in our brain, and everything earlier than that just poof. So we are healing from trauma indeed. Yes, yes. More trauma. We become a completely different person is what we say. There is nothing that you care to remember, and the loss of it will surely not hurt more than the satisfaction you will gain from having more spina. Take it, then. Some relief at being asked to part with something so insignificant colors your voice. Perhaps you will feel better after these memories are gone. That is just the tender, she says. The balance is something else. It is a tithe of hard labor on behalf of the wood. As woodbound, you would be required to perform certain duties for us. What duties? You ask. Your voice comes out slightly strangled. You will know when you have them. The weight of the bond sinks into you, and you reel against the heft of it upon your shoulders and in your bones. It makes you sluggish, bleary. For a moment, you feel your arms and legs interlaced with wooden fibers. Her voice continues, calm and steady, full of those liquid, interlocking syllables. You do not know how many of your brethren are bound thus. Some might even say it is a privilege to serve the wood. Arcana's flat expression, her name pops into your head unaided, and a shiver runs through your body, has become even more inscrutable. If she were human, you would attribute this to extreme boredom. As it is, you have no way to attribute any human emotion to it. It makes you afraid. This is what has been set forth and the protocol we follow. In exchange for this, you will receive your Tina. It's difficult to focus on her words. The jangling of bells is growing stronger in your head. Do you accept these terms? Okay, Dragon, take care. Be safe getting to and from the shop, please. So we have the options of accepting the bargain, attempting to charm the wearer into giving us better terms, with us better terms, or outright refusing the bargain, which at this point is not the best idea. Inu says 2. Let's see what our charm and intellect stats are. So we are more charming than intelligent. Do we have enough to bargain, to haggle a bit, though? That is the question. Or do we just accept what our choice has given us? We don't want to upset our arcana. That would be a bad idea, but we have a vote for 2 so far. Again, we can just accept it for what it is. We can attempt to use our charisma. We can attempt to use our intelligence, neither of which is necessarily a high percentage chance of success, or we could just be stupid and refuse. It looks like we have 2 votes for number 1. The ones have it, unless anyone else wants to speak up, but I think we've got 2 AFKs, so the ones have it. We accept the bargain. Ooh, achievement, bargain bound. We make a bargain with the wares. So with the wares, the weirs. I accept, she say. She nods once, and there is a sensation like spiders crawling through your head or someone combing out the insides of your mind. You cannot say how long it takes, but at the end of the process, something has been lost forever. You feel a sudden lightness and stagger a little. Done and done, she says. Rendered. You will know what you must do, the wearer says. At the moment the tithe, you will be taken into the compulsion to fill our terms. Arcana nods decisively, and before your very eyes becomes one with the trees behind her, dissolving into their shadows. You catch a last glimpse of those gleaming, cautioning eyes, and then they too fade into nothing. There is no immediate sign of your new Spina. Wait, you say, but she is already gone. The clearing feels different. The heavy silence that was upon you has been broken by the birdsong and gusts of wind and all the normal sounds of the forest. You whirl around. Was it all a trick? The contract. You turn out your pockets, but there is no new spina to be found. Yet something is changing. You can feel it, a tingling, wriggling sensation moving up your arms and shoulders, so violent that you sneeze. The contract has wormed its way into your bones. Your breath is squeezed from your lungs as it tightens and settles beneath your skin. You know to whom you are indebted, just as if you'd seen a paper with the contract drawn up, your name and Arcana's, written in strange curling letters. And for an instant, all the conditions of the contract flash before your eyes and through your mind, the agreements you have made, the conditions if you fail. But then a second later, they have dissolved from even your memory, leaving you with a dull headache and the knowledge that nothing can ever be the same. You are not your own now. You belong to the wood. The spina arrived an instant later, pricking your wrists and melding with the others you possess. You have 36 spina. A fortune, a small fortune. Out of the wood. At last you emerge from the wood. The trees stretch forth their branches as if trying to pull you back, and you feel as though you've slogged through thick mud leaves. But you break it through it and hurry back towards town. Never have you been so happy to see Prosper's Gate, welcoming you back to the lands of the human willed. Never have you been so relieved to stand on the ordinary road and know that you can go home. You will certainly appreciate Prosper, with all its restrictions, more now than before you left. The weirdest words ring in your ears, and as you tramp back through the streets, you realize you've only heard tales of bargaining for Spina. Indeed, there could be no other object to lure a person into the wood to seek out the weirs. But Arcana's words belied this. If you wish to bargain for Spina, you fancy there was an implication there that there might have been something else to bargain for. But what else could there possibly be? This thought stays with you long into the evening. At least it has not been for nothing. Next chapter. Chapter 4, Chariot Racing. Oh my, I'm going to check the stats because we have just done something we've never done before. So, our boldness is quite bold. We're pretty healthy. There's nothing really here that has changed by the end of this chapter, but our reputation, however, says that we are now a bit more woodbound, and that our weird sense has also been enriched. Interesting, interesting indeed. We also have a relationship with the Weirs that is not very much further along than the Daemons, but we have definitely made strides here as well. Whew. Also, Danae likes us slightly more than she did before. Just slightly. And, dear Ren. Oh goodness, dear Ren. And we are we are rich. Small fortune. Not the richest in Prosper, no doubt, but far richer than we have been previously. Goodness, goodness, goodness. What shall we do? So, chapter 4, Chariot Racing. I'm not entirely certain how long this chapter will take us. I usually end my stream at 3, and it is quite a bit earlier than that, but chapter 3 took us quite some time, more time than it has in the past. So, I'm going to leave it up to chat. Should I continue and perhaps end in the middle of a chapter later, or shall we leave it here and wait till tomorrow to see what happens during the chariot races? What do we think, chat? What should I do? Goodness. My voice is okay. I could definitely do another chapter. We might take a couple minutes break for a bathroom run for everyone to grab snacks and drinks and all that jazz. But we're pretty on track. I just didn't expect chapter 3 to take us quite that long, but we went a visiting, quite a bit of a visiting. So, how are you? How is chat doing? Shall we continue today? Are we all too intrigued to not, or can we wait until tomorrow? That is the question. Looks like a vote. For possible continuation. All right. I'm gonna put us on a screen. Let me just do a bit of this. So grab a snack. I'm gonna put us all. I'm gonna mute myself for a moment, and grab a snack, grab a drink, use the bathroom, and we will be right back as soon as I get back. So I will. We will continue chapter 4 when we return. Be right back, chat. All right, chat, I'm back. I hope that some of you are also returned from the few minutes that I needed just to get situated here. Water is refilled. Snacking will happen later, so I'm back. Let's get back into this, shall we? Here we go. So, chapter 4, chariot racing. Time to have some fun. Oh, fantastic, Inu. Choice of Games is the publisher. They have a variety of things. And as much as Weyrwood is the first one that I'm streaming, and it's not the first one I have played, you can find free their website and Steam that will allow you to play up to chapter 4 of any of their stories. And they make a large variety. So I'm glad you're checking them out. I think they're amazing. This one in particular appealed to me and my particular reading tastes, but there's a plenty of a variety for any kind of reader, any genre that one might be interested in. So, chariot racing. You pass a restless night, caught in dreams of unfurling thorns piercing your body through. You wake up covered in a sheen of sweat. At breakfast, you can scarcely eat. You stare into your cup, trying to blot out the unwelcome thoughts that dog you. The sky is a bright blue and cloudless, limpid today, contrary to your mood. Bruno enters with the mail. You gaze at it dully. He stands a moment too long above the plate and clears his throat. With your permission, Messer, this came for you. I believe it is of a time-sensitive nature. He gives you a small piece. You unfold it, expecting news on your inheritance, but it reads only Broomhill at the road, 11, Do not disappoint me, Ash. H. What is your reaction? Or does it give us warmth that Hippolyta thinks of us? Is it disappointment since it's only a note from our childhood bestie that we can barely remember now? Are we confused thinking it was Ren? Are we confused thinking it was Danae? Are we confused thinking it was Alcindor? Or that Hippolyta is abominably familiar? One, two, three, four, five, or six. Warmth, disappointment, confusion of Ren, confusion of Danae, confusion of Alcindor, or familiar Hippolyta. Ooh, six. Is our bestie just doing her thing? I can tell you that the number one is definitely the flirt with our bestie, even though she's married route, because that don't seem to matter, or rather, it doesn't matter in the wrong way. Um, so we were rather not nice to her last run, so we have been much nicer to her this run. But we can flirt, or do we want to perhaps think of our beau, Mr. Wren, which chat voted on pursuing earlier, or do we want to friend zone our childhood friend? Looks like I have 2 votes for number 1. If anyone else has returned, do anyone else want to be? I mean, we technically have 4 love interests, and we're now warbling between Hippolyta and Wren. So the ones have it. I guess we're still on the hunt for our bestie. Warmth. Hippolyta thinks of me. You would recognize that handwriting anywhere, except its meaning is still not transparent to you, but it poses a welcome distraction. You spend perhaps more time pondering the note than needed, grateful for anything that takes you out of your numb, sick feeling, and then look to your servant for an explanation. Bruno says, it appears that some of the gentry are out racing today. I have no idea if we can have them all drive. I really wish I did, but I don't actually know offhand. Racing what? Horses, hounds, boats? Horses, you hazard? Equipages, Messere, chariots, curricles, and the like. I believe it will be well attended. But of course, race day. How could you have forgotten it? Though you were never allowed to compete, you snuck away a few times to watch. Your guardian disapproved, but never stopped you from going. Perhaps they thought you would learn caution or temperance or some such thing. That was futile, however. Remember, we have roughly 2 years of memories of Prosper from our childhood, just nothing prior to that. Nothing older than that. Or newer. No, older. Older. The race is an annual affair, and it starts at the edge of town, up by Broom Hill. It curves around the outskirts of the city and then winds up near the commons, so that everyone may congratulate the winners and retire to the assembly rooms for refreshment. It is a peculiar Prosper sport, practiced by the gentry. You have never heard of a similar event taking place anywhere else, not in such numbers, not as such a tradition. Here, the winding roads and bluestone markers offer a dangerous challenge, but so, too, does the promise of Spina for the winners offer a tantalizing reward. Somehow, the founders made this one of the rules, one of the rare instances in which acts of great daring can result in remuneration, however slight. That fact still does not impede the perils of the sport. For though the chariots here are light, small conveyances, more suited to whisking around corners than the stately coaches the wealthy drive in the city, they are high, wobbly, and prone to overturning when driven without great skill. More than once you recall seeing the limp form of an injured contestant being carted off to the doctor. Such a sport cannot be without risk, but its allure has clearly not diminished. And you must admit, when all the vehicles are off at high speed and the road thundered with the horses' hooves, there was something captivating in it. You used to reenact the race afterwards with toy figures or a box that you towed yourself. Now you are of age, you will be expected to attend. Nearly all the gentry will be there. It is one of the best occasions to see and be seen, and to gain influence and respect. If you should win the race, there is the prize of Spina, though we have recently come into a small fortune of Spina. Are we looking forward to this race? Is our mood grim? Or do we just not think of it? In Uzaku, I agree. We are bold. We should look forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. The ones have it, so I'm going to go with the ones. For surely what other fun could be had on such a fine day? You take your coat and hat and hurry down to the assigned starting place. Hippolyta is there, looking bright against the sky in a sharp riding habit and jaunty feathered hat. You wonder for a moment, expects it to stay on with only pins to secure it, then realize that it has two straps attached to the sides in anticipation of high speed. Clearly, she is taking no chances. Her equipage is there, a fine dark polished chariot on two wide wheels. The balance and springs look to be in good order, and a footman is currently checking it over. There is a special spoke for improved balance. Nevertheless, this is clearly a vehicle designed for speed and little else. You look around at the other vehicles and note that Hippolyta's, at least, looks more stable than some. Next to you is a high, showy chariot that clearly will tip over at the slight provocation. You suppress a shudder. On the other side is a sober brown curricle, which should have a better chance, yet it is hitched to two skittish-looking greys. A few paces off, there is a very wild-looking ruffianish gentleman. He is evidently intoxicated already, and is roundly scolding his stable hands. One of the stable hands follows your gaze. "Ed Vane," the stable hand says, and the comment includes a great deal of trepidation, ridicule, and fear. If you think of racing, this driver will be the one to watch. His horses are much finer than their driver, and his chariot looks to be in good condition. Still, the horse's ears are flicking back in anxiety at his tantrum. You reevaluate Hippolyta's choice. Not bad, all considered. And if her horses look overly placid, that can only be a good thing in the present context. At this moment, Hippolyta herself sees you looking over and beckons. She is standing in a group of people, and judging by the number of interested faces that turn toward you, she has just been talking of you. You go over. "No, you are all wrong, I'll wager," she says. "Monsieur Montague is quite a different sort of person than you imagine," she says. You find yourself in the unenviable position of being the center of attention without the least idea why. You make a polite greeting to the group and raise your eyebrow at Hippolyta. What on earth has she been telling them? "And a good morning to you. Is it not a splendid day for it?" Hippolyta pronounces. She is positively brimming with anticipation and a glee that you, quite frankly, find suspect. "I was just telling our friends that you are much too prudent to do such a thing." It is impossible to tell whether she simply has a natural talent for goading you, or whether she has invested considerable time and effort into cultivating it. Do we grit our teeth at the goad? Do we smile honestly? Or are we genuinely curious? Trav says honest. Winter Fairy agrees. That is the consensus so far. The twos have it. We smile honestly. To do what, you ask, once the silence has drawn on a bit and it is clear that she simply will not explain herself and you have responded. "Why, to race, of course," she says, and turns the full force of her smile upon you. "Mrs. Beaker," a lady in a pink bonnet says, giggling shrilly, "you mustn't." Hippolyta looks down her nose at the other lady. "I most certainly shall. Monsieur Montague, we have been debating. Miss Eggers says that you will not race, but I thought that you would like nothing better." It is a dare, plain and simple. You hesitate, considering. If you refuse, you will show Hippolyta up. However, she has purposely put you in a corner, so perhaps a little lack of courtesy is warranted. Besides, this is a potentially dangerous activity. As to the race itself, there is only room for one in the driver's seat. Well, what is this word? Prudent, indeed. If you take her on and acquit yourself well, you will gain considerable influence among the gentry. And if you do very well, winning would raise you in everyone's esteem and grant you Spina for your daring. It may be best to accept her dare. After all, who can you trust to steer better than yourself? Spina follows acts of will, and this is a ritual undertaking. Participating successfully in any way will win you something. Of course, the winner takes a greater share of the glory and Spina. However, in taking the reins, the full responsibility falls upon you. You risk injury and ridicule should you do poorly. And as a newcomer to this sport, you know neither the roads nor the driving habits of the other competitors. Hippolyta is, by far, the superior driver, and judging by the maniacal glint in her eyes, she has much more experience than you at these kinds of races. She knows the road and the other drivers better than you, and the other drivers better than you possibly could. Also, giving her the reins will naturally raise you in her estimation. It might be sensible to ride with Hippolyta, but to insist that she drives. Or perhaps the most sensible option altogether is to keep your feet firmly on the ground. Um, so here's the thing. We we took two in the last run, and it did not go well. In fact, our friendship tanked because of it. And we are a very bold, impetuous, creative person. Yes, Winter Fairy, it does. So if we take one, we are accepting the dare. If we take two, yes, she will drive and she will do a good job, but she gets the glory and we get her being mad at us. If we try to stop the race for all involved, that's problems. And we could just watch and cheer her on, but again, disappointment. Yeah, two means we back out of that. Well, two, three, and four means we back out, really. But it looks like everyone's for taking the dare. So number one, very well, but I'm driving. She looks bemused but pleased, just as I had hoped. You hop into the seat, noting the bounce of the vehicle. The springs bounce gently. The whole conveyance is well maintained. The horses are two fine bays, which radiate well-tempered power and energy. Very nice, you say, and mean it. Hippolyta's face cracks into a smile. It is good of you to say so, she says, and climbs up without assistance. There now, she says, plopping into the seat. An apparently self-appointed master of the ceremonies comes forward and makes a dry speech regarding the importance of the occasion, the rules, the strict consequences resulting from any foul play, and the number of races henceforth. Your attention drifts off. Hippolyta nudges you, and you realize that it is time to move into position. You take the reins. The pair of horses are responsive to your wishes, and a grin lights up your face. This may be far more fun than you had accounted for. On the mark, the master of ceremonies cries, and shoots the pistol into the air. You urge the horses forward, gripping the reins lightly but firmly. Advain's tilting carriage quickly overtakes you, but you move away from the danger and are soon again in the lead. The terrain is smooth, the road well tamped. Hippolyta seems happy at your side, egging you on through the curves. You know she would do better, but you aren't doing too shabbily yourself. You and the horses fall into a rhythm of minds, and you allow them to rest when you can, pushing them on only when the road is straight. Confidence relaxes them, and they spring ahead. It is as close to flying as you will ever come, and the wind whipping through your hair raises your spirits more than it should. Something sparks in your blood. You were born to this. You round the last corner in second place. Ahead is the final stretch of the road before the racetrack. You loosen your lead even further and urge the horses on. They practically fly down and through to the finish line, beating the other chariot by a hair's breadth. Ooh. Achievement charioteer. We won the chariot race. Woohoo! You continue past the finish line, letting the horses canter to a halt, the cheering thundering in your ears. You've won! You quickly turn to make way for the other chariots, and a little space clears for you to leave the road. The other contestants pass behind you, slowing past the finish line. Hippolyta turns to you. Congratulations, Messer Montague, she says, beaming. Your horses are the ones deserving of praise, you reply. They have slowed nearly to a halt. Hippolyta jumps down and signals two liveried stable hands who are standing nearby. She grins and shakes her head. There is some little skill in the driving as well, or it would not be a sport at all. You descend from the chariot and allow the stable boys to jump up and take your place. Will you drive home now? She expels a huff of air affectionately. But of course not, for you must greet your admirers and receive the prize. The master of ceremonies, you see, is hovering nearby with a gilded laurel crown in his hands. As soon as you look his way, he swoops down upon you. A hearty congratulations, Messer Montague, he exclaims, shaking your hand. He places the crown upon your head and forces you to face the cheering bystanders. A long queue is forming. People are keen to greet you and express their congratulations and shake your hand. It is all so much more notable, you being but recently returned to Prosper, the master of ceremonies explains jovially. What a fine day! You've certainly raised yourself in many people's esteem today, and gained a spina. The feeling of it slipping into your bloodstream buoys your mood immensely. As the final chariot thumps past the finish line, you feel quite content. In some ways, the first gentry, those old meddlers, knew what they were doing when they set up the rules of measured will. Hippolyta winks cheekily at you. You grin back, letting the warmth of success run through you. You spot Alcindor Wakeforth nearby, listening politely to an elderly lady. Messer Montague, Alcindor says, are you enjoying the day? And we only had a sport of 60, yes. We have won. We did that very well. So now we must, Alcindor Wakeforth, a person. Are we enjoying the day? Do we exclaim yes very much? Not at all, or I would enjoy any more and do a bit of flirting. Everyone says one. Goodness. Our little fellow creative just has no chance for our heart, apparently. This has been the most wonderful day. Your enthusiasm is infectious. Alcindor smiles. Alcindor is hailed by a group of people and departs apologetically. You make the rounds congratulating the other participants in their show, and someone proposes you all finish at Lord Summersby's gardens, where refreshments and games have been prepared. A hubbub breaks out some ways from you. Raised voices cause you to look over. A vivid, poorly attired young woman appears to be having a vicious argument with Jocasta Smythe. Her dark hair is half springing out at its knot, and her clothes have been made over so many times that there appears to be little original garment left. Her skin is the color of milky tea. You can't quite catch what she is saying, but her expression is impassioned, close to tears. What is she doing? Mistress Smythe's face is calm, but her narrowed eyes lets you know that the consequences for this social misstep will be grave indeed. Welcome back, Dragon. Jocasta responds with quiet, snapping remarks that appear to cut to the quick. What's going on, you ask? Hippolyta nearby catches your words. Miss Melantho Ferrier, she says. There are times when, she sighs, it is well to grant a person the benefit of the doubt. However, we know Mistress Smythe never forgets once slighted. Jocasta says something inaudible that causes the girl's face to heat. You both watch in silence. Perhaps I should intervene, Hippolyta says neutrally. At that moment, however, a footman comes over. I am sorry, but I am being called away. She gives you an apologetic look and goes with him. This leaves you and your conscience. You edge closer to the disagreement. All I wish is a chance. You never believed us, and now you cannot bear to admit that you were wrong, Melantho is saying, voice taut. You know very well that it isn't, but you are so caught up in your own. She throws her hands up and makes a wordless noise of frustration. Gentility, my foot. This is not the time nor the place, Jocasta says primly. For all you and your family may seek to subvert the rules, there are persons here who cannot be harmed by your interference. In any case, I do not understand what it is you want. Her tone is falsely honeyed. My family has nothing to do with this, and I thank you for leaving them out of it. You can have nothing more to say. I am in no debt to you, and I shall not entertain any such attempts to control me. Both women notice you suddenly, and the air grows expectant. Well now, Messer Montague, I trust you will not bear any slander. Melantho lets out another sound of frustration. You would twist it like that. They expect you to choose a side, though the disagreement is not entirely clear. What is abundantly clear is Melantho's low status and the potential damage Jocasta could do to either of your reputations. However, you know Jocasta. It's likely that she has twisted the situation around somehow so that it looks as though Melantho is in the wrong. How do we intervene? Do we side with Melantho, side with Jocasta, or walk past pretending we don't see them and just not get involved? Last time we did side with Melantho, but last time we were also not in good graces of Jocasta. This time we are in much better graces with Jocasta, and we don't even have a relationship stat with Melantho at all, so it could go really badly no matter what we do, Winter Fairy. But yes, we did choose one, and it did not go well. We might consider choosing number 2 this time because we are in much better status with Jocasta, and keeping her that way might be for the best. However, we could just ignore it entirely. The twos have it. We intervene, siding with Jocasta. Excuse me, you say. Is anything amiss? Miss Ferrier closes her mouth abruptly and shakes her head, eyes brimming with tears. But you are addressing Jocasta. Perhaps you would like to comment on such behavior. Mistress Smythe says, I, for one, find it quite uncouth, but then what else can one expect from such? Melantho opens her mouth, but you anticipate her. It is a little unwise to speak thus to an elder, and especially in public, you chastise her. If you have a grievance, it would be best to speak to another party, and in private. Jocasta is slightly mollified. She'll never approve of you, though. Miss Ferrier's shoulders hunch, however, and she looks like she's about to cry. This has gained you some peace with the local gossip monger, though, and that thought consoles you. Of which, let's find out how much. Yeah, she likes us quite a bit more. Or a bit more, I should say, not quite a bit more. Overall, yeah, we're doing pretty good all around in our relationships. We have gained some influence as well, some dangerous even from what we've done, but we're still more respectable than scandalous. Whew. She is a finicky madam, yes. And we're a bit more accomplished as well. So, yay. It is time for the meeting of the philosophers. The philosophers meet alternatively in the Grufford Library or in the town's new coffee shop, having recently been thrown out of the municipal lending library. This week it is at the Grufford residence. You arrive a little late, just a little late. The house seems much livelier than last time you called. The dull hum of conversation echoes in the entrance hall. A different servant admits you to the house and leads you to the library. Yes, we are quite a bit wealthier. You edge inside. The room holds a scene of more mundane chaos than the last one you saw. Now there are only books and a few intense, scholarly-looking persons present. Any evidence of the near catastrophic magic working of the other day has been neatly tidied and sponged away, and only a few traces cling to the bookshelves and hover above the long table. But doubtless you would not sense them if you did not know they were already there. Wren and these motley persons are conducting a lively debate and do not seem to notice when you come in. Danae does, however. She is hovering near the door and greets you cordially. Are you staying for the meet? You ask, but she shakes her head vehemently. I have better things to do with my time than Wren's little experiment, she says with familial scorn. My apologies, she adds, her face a little red. So, do we say that it is a pity to miss her and perhaps allude to another time? Do we say that it is a pity and that she would greatly improve the discourse? Do we say that it is no matter, very neutrally? Or do we say that this shouldn't hold her interest? How do we respond to Miss Dene heading out, as it were? One, two, three, or four? Flirt, intellect, neutrality, or something. We have a vote for three. We have a vote for one. So one will definitely put us in pursuit of her company at a later time. Two is sort of the intellectual answer and will likely still be friendly. Three is very neutral, possibly to the point of not as friendly, and four is sort of not friendly at all. So it looks like one, the pursuit of Danae's company at another time, is sort of what Chad is leaned towards. That is the current consensus. And it looks like the ones have it. So, itty to miss you. Perhaps another time. At first glance, it seems you have descended into a raucous pub, or perhaps a carnival. Books litter the room. Someone is standing on the table. Another member of the society is shaking their fist at the speaker, who is repeatedly ringing a brass bell in an attempt to gain the floor. Your eyes are drawn to Wren, standing near the back shelves, arms folded, evidently intent on observing the spectacle. He is now dressed in slightly more respectable, clean attire, and his cravat is elegantly tied. The level of noise increases as a round-faced, bespectacled gentleman makes an apparent point of contention and strikes his fist upon the table to emphasize his words. A thin person with a pale, pinched face and hair cropped short lunges forward, brandishing a thick book. Bainborough, Bainborough, they are shouting. Finally, Wren bounds up and onto the table, hands outstretched. Excuse me, he says, voice raised to carry over the din. The noise level subsides slightly. That will have to wait. There is someone new I would like to present. You weren't sure he even noticed you. May I present Messer Ash Montague, recently returned to Prosper. Montague, this is Rhodey, he gestures to the bespectacled young man. Armitage, Esterling, the thin person nods, and Miss Joram. Messer Montague is from the city. Let's be civil. He clears off a chair for you and takes his place at the table. Oh, I guess he was waiting for us. How very Wren. So, the subject at hand is a respectable looking older gentleman, older person in a sober coat. Armitage? Will and matter. You slide your gaze over to Wren, who is pointedly not looking at you, but today's meeting seems blessedly confined to the theoretical implications of will and matter, and does not include any practical experiments to speak of. The will is tied to the matter, Rhodey says earnestly. You cannot have one without the other, hence the lost. The philosophers shudder visibly, save Wren, who looks thoughtful. But what about Eccleston's conclusions? Esterling countered. We are not only matter. Will is not tied just to flesh, the fourth person, a lady in a violet coat, says. How else would we feel it in our spirit when there is loss? The fallen have matter, Wren puts in. They are still made of flesh. How does he know? You expect Wren to mention his magical experiment with Spina, but, or perhaps not curiously at all, Wren makes no mention of his own practical foray into the topic. At length he speaks. Montague, we have not heard from you. What is your opinion on the topic? He meets your gaze, a challenge in his dark eyes, as if daring you to mention his experiment. How do we respond, Chat? It's getting good. Are we do we participate enthusiastically, sharing all we know about his little foray? Do we answer deliberately and do not mention the experiment? Do we remember what we've read and expound on the arguments, or do we present our own unique opinion and mention the experiment? How spicy do we want to be about this? The twos have it. The twos have it. Trav makes a good point that he may or may not be happy if we mention the experiment. So we could answer quite deliberately. We could also safely do three of it. I think there is no distinguishing between these 2 points of view, you say. It's all one. Ren frowns, and the other philosophers exchange glances. That is, well, a bold oversimplification of the matter at hand, to put it plainly. Rhodey and Esterling continue their debate, but both end up coming to a sort of understanding that completely bypasses you. You hang back and let them talk, but are never allowed a chance to present your ideas. The judgment of the room has you thoroughly cowed. To your surprise, given the rowdy beginning, what follows is a very civilized discussion. Examples and counterexamples are thrown about at high speed, and much sherry wine and cakes are consumed. Before you know it, the meeting is over, and it is time to say your goodbyes. Ren lingers, very carefully closing and putting away all the books. He does not speak to you while the others are in the room, but the set of his shoulders and careful listening posture make it evident that he is waiting for a chance. Do we help him put the books away, wait in the hall, or just simply leave? I will remind you, chat, you did pick him as our love interest earlier. The ones currently have it. Oh, we're going to carry his books for him. We help him put the books away. You assist him in tidying the room. You do so silently. Soon the room is empty, save you two. Ren fixes you with a clear-sighted glance. Well, Montague, what did you think? His air is one of detachment, eagerness to know your true opinion all the more evident. Do we share his enthusiasm for the group that he started, shower Ren specifically with praise, or lie and flatter him? May I remind you that our subterfuge is less than our principle, so the lie is not going to fall well. Winter Fairy says to share our enthusiasm. What is the chat consensus? Enthusiasm, praise, which is more flirt, 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 or lie. What shall we do? So far, the ones have the consensus. One it is. We share our enthusiasm. I think you have hit upon a good thing here, you say, and your voice and smile are so that Ren cannot help but smile in return. I thank you, he says, and bows slightly. When he straightens, a slightly silly smile lingers on his face. Your good opinion means a great deal to me. Somehow, known each other for very long, this rings true. You part warmly with enthusiastic promises to meet again soon. Mist. Something stirs in your blood, unknowable. The taste of sage is on your tongue. Magic, rich and strange as honeyed wine, floods your senses. Moving as if in a dream, you wander out into the street. You do not know where you are bound, but your feet lead the way, and you are content to watch the houses pass. You blink, and now you are here. But here is not exactly any place you had counted on visiting. Nevertheless, you know this is the place. You stand at the corner of two streets. In the center of town, near the theater, a handsome house stands in front of you. A strange mist has crept up all around you, though it was dry earlier. There is something in your hand. You are gripping it so tightly that it cuts into your skin. You unfold your fingers, but do not recognize it. There is no name that you can give it, for in your world it is a thing that does not, should not, need not exist. A hazy fog worries. The wood bond uplifts you. Indeed, you cannot remember the last you felt so happy. It is a certain giddiness that is a shade away from melancholy. If you do not keep smiling, you may well cry. You breathe in and keep smiling. Your task slips into your brain, and you are surprised that you did not perform it sooner, for it is as if it was always there. You must place the object in your hand in the second floor study of this building. Easy enough, perhaps. Do you examine the object? Do we look at it? Do we avert our eyes from it? Or do we feel the object for clues? Winter Fairy wants to take a peek. Inuzaku also wants to take a peek. The ones currently have the vote. Anyone else wish to weigh in? The ones have it. We may regret it indeed, Trev. We look at it. It is a whirl of wood, unprepossessing to the eye and yet full of magic to the touch. However, enough consciousness remains to you to know that you must not get caught performing this task. The consequences for that could be grievous indeed. You do not know who owns this building, and on, on one side there is a high garden wall. How do you fulfill your task? The magic in your blood tells you that here, if you are caught, there will be consequences to your health and your spina. This is a test of skill as well as volition. We sneak in, pretend to have lost something there, wait until we know the room is empty, or climb up the back wall. I'm going to show our stats for a second. Our qualities. We are slightly charismatic, slightly intelligent than charismatic, bold as bold can be. We are a bit empathetic. We have gained more subterfuge than principle, so we're better at lying than telling the truth now, or lie than tell the truth now, but only very slightly. And we have a decent amount of sport to our name. We also have enough respectability that we might weigh with saying that we've lost something here. So, looks like 3 is a vote here. Sneaking in, pretending to have lost something, wait until the room is empty, or climbing up the back wall. So everyone wants to wait until we know the room is empty. The charwoman seems to be cleaning the place. You settle in to wait until she finished, but miscalculate and surprise her. She shrieks, and you are forced to retreat the way you came. Your throat tightens until you drop the object by the back door. You cannot do any better at the moment, pursued as you are. You flee into the gloom. You wander home feeling emptied, hazy. The dull ringing of bells still resounds in your mind, but faintly. The bite of the forest in your blood is infinitesimally weaker, as if by taking action it has been leached away. But the quality of that daze that came upon you lingers still. How do you feel about the magic of the wood? Do we hate it? Do we think it is strange but harmless, or is it oddly comfortable? Of which Trav already says oddly comfortable. Do we have a consensus? The 3s currently have it. Anyone else want to weigh in? What have we lost? Wood bond? Spina? That's a good question, Trav. Before I make this choice, which will be 3, apparently, I will show the stats. Woodbound still seems to be there, 47 Spina. So our relationship with the Weirs is still as it was. Not entirely certain that we've lost anything yet, but it is oddly comfortable. There was something warm in the sensation of being woodbound, a different peace than you have ever experienced before. Your steps are lighter as you proceed home. Perhaps, in time, you will conquer this burden after all. All right, and we have reached Chapter 5, the Town Council. So, this is where I will end it. Not nearly as long a chapter as I suspected it might be. And many new things that we have not experienced in a past run have been experienced now in this one. We are wood-bound. I will overview that now that we have come to the end of stream. We're slightly charismatic and intelligent, just slightly. Not enough to really help us much, but slightly. But we are bold as bold can be, the boldest of bold. We do have a bit of empathy as well. We are hedging more towards subterfuge than principle these days, but we're still fairly neutral on the matter. Our health has been hit. It is now 86% rather than the 91 we had before. Yeah, so our not managing to put the object where we needed to put it entirely has cost us health. We are somewhat accomplished, not hugely so, but somewhat, and we're a bit sporty on the side as well. As per our reputations, we are still fairly a bit more respectable than we are scandalous. Not necessarily a healthy amount of respectable, but fairly enough. We do have some slight amount of influence, not a great amount, but some slight amount of influence. Our dangerous has hedged a little further, but we are most notably lightly bound. And we have a bit of weird sense as well, which is the magic of this world building. Our philanthropy is still neutral can be, reputation-wise. As for our relationships, the Weirs are outpacing the Daemons when it comes to the factions between those two strange and magical beings. Hippolyta is our dearest dear friend who we are very fond of. Is friendly with us and has shown some interest in us as well. Mr. Wren Grufford is a delightful, delightful man that we are falling for pretty well. Miss Danae Grufford, his cousin, is a friendly individual to enjoy the company of. And Miss Sarah, our Wakeforth, is an interest, but not interesting, more interesting than any of the others. Yocasta Smythe is not someone who speaks badly of us, of course, because we are in her good graces. Mistress Yocasta Smythe is still, however, the town gossip, one we must tiptoe around carefully. And we have a small fortune of wealth in Spina, a healthy 47 that we can definitely spend and do some things with. My oh my. So that is where we stand in Weyrwood on this second run. I will be picking up Chapter 5, the Town Council, tomorrow at the same place and at the beginning of the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern US. So please, please, please come join us. Yes, Winter Fairy is definitely much better than the 12 we had last run through. So yes, sometimes you got to make a deal with the Fae, and this run we absolutely did. So here we are. I'm going to wrap up. I will see everyone tomorrow, which will be a Wednesday, the middle of our week, and we will be continuing this story at Chapter 5. I hope everyone has enjoyed themselves thoroughly. Thank you for helping me make decisions in this Choose Your Own Adventure game, and take care, everyone. I will see you again